मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। अर्जुन उवाच अहो बत महत्पापम् कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयं यद्राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यताः. The normal logician, it looks very, very appropriate. And Arjuna is telling that we are doing the biggest papa because we are killing our own people. For what? For getting this Rajya. Are we not so selfish? So normally, when you are unselfish, when you do your duty, then you don't accrue any papa. No? But here, we are doing all this with the greed to get the kingdom. So we are doing big papa. Shri Bhagavanuvacha अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानप्रवेणैव वृजिनं सन्तरिष्यसि. Okay, you are not doing really the sin, according to me, but assuming that you are doing the papa, you are doing the sin, the highest sin, the biggest sin, papakrut tamaha. What is the way out? By the proper understanding from the gnana. By getting onto the boat of gnana, you will be able to overcome this, all the papas that you are doing. What is that gnana? How to get at it? You must become eligible for that. Tadvidhi pranipathena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam gnaninastatvadarshinaha. Pranipata pariprashna seva. Seva to shatter the tamas, pariprashna for developing the rajas of the right type, and surrender. The dimensions of sattva have to be brought. That is the eligibility for the student. As a teacher, Gnana, Gnaninaha, Tattvadarshinaha. He must be a great scholar, he must know everything. At the same time, he should have the realization of that. Okay? With that, what is the Gnana that you got? न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Arjuna, please understand, in this hanyamane sharira, in this body that you have, which is going to die, there is an immortal principle which does not die, and it has no birth, it has no death. That's your original state, And not only this physical body that you have, but you have 4 more bodies, 25 bodies we all possess. And this in Upanishads are told Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya Koshas. Similarly, the world at large also has 5 fields. And all these are continuously in a flux of change. That's called the creation, that's called the Jagat. And that which is beyond that, which does not change, is our pure consciousness. That is Brahman. So please understand. Veda vinashinam nityam yayena majamubhyayam katham sapurusha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. If you understand this, that you are not this physical body or that ultimate, what is going to happen when you die? Only this body gets killed, the remaining things remain. And the immortal self can never be slayed. So, how can anybody kill anybody else in that sense? नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापः न शोषयति मारुतः. No, nothing can destroy you. No, nor the weapons or the Agni or the Varuna, the water, nothing can destroy that immortal principle. अच्छेद्योऽयमदाख्योऽयम् अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुः अचलोऽयं सनातनः. It's achala, unmoving, it's immortal, it is all pervasive, beyond space, time, causation, beyond kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, beyond mana, buddhi, chitta, hankara. That's our original state. It is a state of infinite bliss, infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite freedom. That's what we all are. Therefore, Arjuna, please understand this knowledge. Contained in that is the concept of rebirth. When you die, and the physical body dies, your remaining koshas will remain. And when you come back, you have all your personality traits embedded in the sanchita karma, comes up as prarabdha karma. And you have the personality trait. That's the whole process of birth. And therefore, in this concept of rebirth, we have the eternal grandeur that we have. So this all Sanchita karma is made out of three gunas, tamas, rajas, and sattva. Trigunya vishaya vedaha nistraigunyo bhavarjuna nirdvandvo nitya sattvasthaha niryogakshema atmaman. So to go beyond the gunas, so that start moving from tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva. And you have to go beyond the gunas. Why you have to go beyond the sattva? Sattva is the best among these things. You have role models of the person because of the sattva. So why should we go beyond sattva? Because even people who are very sattvic, who have dedicated themselves for the country, dedicated themselves for the higher pursuits, even they get into various challenges and problems of the modern NCDs and so on, one side. Another side, even among the several dimensions of sattva, dana, daya, dhamma, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, yama and niyama, ahimsa, satya, steya, brahmacharya, parigraha, and all these things, there could be conflict between two ethical norms. And there can be conflict between ethical norm and duty as it happened to Arjuna. One duty and another duty. Questioning the very base of duty, questioning the very base of good. And what is the meaning of this life? All such questions can be solved only when you have go beyond the gunas. Because it is the attachment to the gunas that cause the problem. So to go beyond the panchakoshas, overcoming these things. So what is the quality of such a person who has gone beyond? Called the sthita prajna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnasthadotyate. Sthita prajna, sthita prajna. Prajna has stabilized. That prajna, that I am, that infinite, pure consciousness is established. And the inner layer of the mind is always in that Shanta sthiti, Ananda sthiti, and Paripurna Gnana sthiti. And what are the two characteristics of that? He is able to stay in that silence, in that state which is beyond the thoughts, beyond the desires for any length of time. And is all the time in that blissful awareness. Whether he does the action or not does the action, he is in that state. That is sthita prajna. Having said that, now how to overcome that? Because it's easily said than done. Go to that silence is easily said than done. Because we know that we are bound by these thoughts and also the emotions. So you must understand what is the difference between thoughts and emotions. Because emotions are grosser. And to overcome the dimensions of emotions, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, the six enemies of man. We must understand the connection between thoughts and the emotions to overcome them. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषुपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Whole sequence so beautifully brought out. When you go on thinking about a particular object, an event, a person, or a single thought, go on doing that again, 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 and you get attached to that. That's the beginning of all emotions. And attachment brings raga and dvesha, and that results in anger, greed, jealousy, hatred, infatuation, everything, and it infatuously. We become slaves to the emotion, and we lose the memory, and we lose the power of discrimination, buddhi nasha. And that is the whole sequence as to how the thoughts crystallize themselves, grossify themselves. Therefore, essentially, emotions are nothing but power thoughts. When you go on repeating the thought becomes very, very energized and becomes very powerful thought. Therefore, we concluded that emotions are not totally different from thoughts. Thoughts and emotions have clear correlations and connections. Thoughts, when they get powered up, they become emotions. Just like energy, when it grossifies, it becomes matter in the physical world. So, how to overcome that? What is to be done? You have to gain mastery over the senses and the emotions. रागद्वेषवियुक्तैस्तु विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा prasadamадhigacchati. So, what is the sadhana therefore? Right in the time when the mind gets into the single thought, it gets looped up, cut at that time itself. You're thinking of object, and that itself can stay beyond that. So tune yourself to that infinite pure consciousness. Patanjali says, Ananta Samapatti. Tune the mind to that infinite Anantata. Stay in that thing. When the different thoughts come, it will convert themselves into the attachment and become the desire. Much before that becomes the desire, then you cut at the loop and stay here. That is the thing. Stay atmavashyahi vidhata. Then you get that prasada. That is the beautiful way Krishna says. What is the result of that? Dukkhe shaludvigna manaha sukhe shuvigata spruhaha vitaraga bhaya krodhaha chitadhir muniruchyate. That is the dimension that comes out. Dukkheshu anudvigna manoha. When you have the situation which brings dukkha, normally we all get lost. So you should have anudvigna mana. The mind should have no udvignata. What is that dimension? Unshaken mind. The mind should be in that calmness. It should not get lost. We get depressed, we get lost, and people even look, even self-sacrifice and then suicide and things like that, and they get lost. Krishna says, no. When the dukkha comes as the result of this slavery to the senses, when you have the mastery, you remain unattached. That is anudvigna manaha. You don't get lost. Normally, you all got depressed when you have the dukkha, and we get excited when you get the sukha. What should happen? Sukheshu vigata spruhoha. So, we should not crave for the happiness. Spruha, which is there. Spruha is hankering. I want that, I want that, I want that. When they have that sukha and enjoyment, then it brings the sukha. Therefore, you get tied to that, you get this slavery. The spruha which is there, that hankering for that. I want that, I want that, I want that, should be removed. So the excitement has to be reduced and the depression should be overcome. And as a result of that, Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. The result of these things, Raga and Dvesha. And correspondingly, the Krodha, the Bhaya, everything will completely vanish. That is the result. And such is the person who is called Sthitadhi. He is the Sthita Pragna. Iti Munihi Uchyate. So the whole essence is Samatva. Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, as it is done. Samatva is equanimity. Equanimity is yoga. So equanimity is bringing balance. The lack of balance, the lack of equanimity is the one that results as dis-ease. It is disturbance from the ease that we have. The easiness is the wellness, is the equanimity, is the samatva. And that equanimity in the states of misery, in the states of happiness, leads to the mastery over the senses and emotions. In the last class, we understood that the sublimation is the way by which we gain mastery over the emotions. What is that aspect of sublimation? Is to calm down the mind, silence the mind, tranquil the mind, and that is the one that we have to do to gain mastery over the emotion. And in suppression, the calmness is not there, the energy which is there, you block it, therefore it gets suppressed. Therefore, you should not suppress. At the same time, you should not give free vent to the emotions. Because if you give free vent to the emotions, you become slaves to the senses. Because the law of senses are such that when you feed the senses with a sense object, the demand increases. Spruha starts coming up. The spruha makes our senses demand. The demand increases. It is something like trying to quench the fire using the ghee. It's going to blaze up. That's the law of the senses. Therefore, understanding this law of senses, the Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Shastra gives us the whole essence to gain mastery is to calm down the mind, silence the mind. Spruha should be reduced, and that spruha has to come down. Similarly, here we have dukkha. When the dukkha comes, you get lost. The mind gets into such a turmoil, then when you get depressed, when you get these things, then depression takes place. And therefore, both these things are manifestations of that emotions, of speeded up thoughts, powered up thoughts, uncontrolled speed of the mind. That is the one either can lead you to dukkha or to the sukha. Both these things are equally. So, vigata sprahaha, vitaraga bhaya krodha. The result of that is raga and dvesha will come down because you're reducing that dimension. So, in the second step of the practice is to see that you don't get excited when you get the desired result, when you get the success. And you don't get lost, you don't get completely depressed when you don't get the results of your choice during the dukkha and the sukha. This is the test. So at the second level, Krishna is bringing this sadhana. The first level is cut at the very thought itself. Whenever the thought is getting repeated, you don't loop up, you don't get repeating the things. Instead of that, what you have to do, from the thought you go back to your thing. Remember and stay in that silence, the root of the thoughts. But very subtle technique, very difficult. Because to tune ourselves to that infinite consciousness all the time is difficult. It's easily said than done. Therefore, Krishna gives the next level operation. That is, okay, now because of that looping, then the raga and dvesha attachment comes. Through the attachment, the raga and dvesha comes. So raga and dvesha builds the dukkha and the sukha. You know, the desired results you get, you are very happy, excited. You know. So what did I mention? You have to bring equanimity. You have to reduce the slavery. You don't get excited when you get the success. You don't get depressed when you don't get the result. In the United States, we remember that there was a boom in economy, and large number of people became overnight millionaires and billionaires. They had invested in good stock, and without their own expectation, going beyond their expectation, there was a boom, and the share markets rose. A lot of our friends, they become overnight millionaires. They had invested a few thousands and they became millions. And everybody was so excited, so happy, and so jumping with joy. Parties after parties. They thought now we don't have to work and we can put all these things in good, stable thoughts and get the money and we'll be very, very happy. They're all excited. Because the spruha has increased everywhere. And they were all enjoying. But the investments I did in the very stable stocks, there is a depression. There was a big collapse of the share market, and all the millions just went down. There was such a collapse of economy throughout the world, not only in the United States. What the result? They all become so sad, so miserable, so unhappy, and mind became udvigna. The mind got lost, crying, shocked to the last. I remember those days I was in Japan and large number of people got lost. Essentially, they became equivalent to bankrupts and people could not take. In that year, there were large number of suicides in Japan, 15 to 20,000, deaths. Normally, hardly there will be a few which are countable single-digit things for suicide. But there, thousands of people committed suicide. Why? Such a collapse of economy. This is normally what happens. When you get the desired result, there is tremendous joy. You're jumping with joy, excitement, everything. But when this happens to collapse, then the whole thing is done. So we're all tossed up and down in excitement and depression on a continual basis. In the stock market, people work on this thing, they get these things, excitement and depression, excitement and suppression goes on and on. And the extreme is the committing of doing things. So what is the way of doing these things? Equanimity. If it happened in Japan, in United States and other places all over the thing, look at Singapore. I always marvel. Singapore situation also was the same. But what happened? The reader, look on view, he gave a nice approach, equanimity. What did he say? He called all his ministers, cabinet ministers, and everybody, and said, "Look here, we are in a difficult stage, just like it is happening throughout the world. So we have to reduce our desires, reduce our wants, reduce our dimensions, and that's what we have to do. Therefore, what was his response? Now I am taking $800,000 a year. Now I'm going to cut down. I'll take only $80,000. So I appeal to all of you that you also do the same. All the ministers also came out and said, yes, we are going to take less. People were taking $100,000. They said, okay, 10,000, 15,000 will do. Everybody reduced. Then they called all the business people and other people. See, we say we are in the difficult times, so we have to conserve our energy. No big parties, no excessive spending, and let us conserve our electricity bills and conserve all the extra expenditure we are doing these things, and we are contained. And use the minimum that you need. And everybody responded. And that is bringing equanimity in action. And people came out of that great collapse, economic collapse, in a very short time. So that's the way it has to be done. Maintaining equanimity, practice of equanimity. And when you have the equanimity only, you can take such a decision. Your discrimination power, what is best, you have to work on that thing. And Krishna says, if you do that, our greed, our anger, miserliness, all these are going to reduce. And the root cause of that fear, will also go. Vita, raga, bhaya, krodha, chitadi, munishite. Fear, greed, anger, misery, everything is going to come down. And that is the wonderful message that Krishna gives. And this is to bring balance. So here I have a small story for you again. There's a town called Siren, and it was bustling with activity, with a boom, and so on. And there lived a very jovial storyteller. His name was Kayol. Kayol, every day was telling the stories. His tales were renowned, very well known, very appreciated for their wisdom. Every story had its own wisdom. But all this centered around the importance of good life. It was quite educative. The stories are very educative. Keval had a very peculiar habit. Every day, whether it rain or shine, he would sit at the town square's edge. He'll go to the things and he'll sit there. And he was spinning stories for anyone who would listen. People started coming in bigger number, bigger number. They all were very happy to hear his beautiful stories. So this was going on day after day, day after day. One day, a mysterious visitor approached him. And he was dressed in tattered clothes, yet radiating an inexplicable joy. Was so happy, full of joy, full of bliss. But looked at his dress, it was tattered, completely worn up, this thing were going on. And the visitor came and introduced himself. My name is Chakra. I am a wanderer. Something like our various parivradikas. And I have been wandering around the world, going far and wide. For what? I have been searching to get the true happiness. So, wandering, wandering, wandering. So, the Keval, the Keval got very interested. He got intrigued and he asked Chakra, can you share your story? What happened? How you got the true happiness? Then Chakra started remembering and telling his own expedition. He said that he was wandering and wandering, and his adventures of chasing grand dreams of material wealth, want to be very rich, millionaire, billionaire. He was doing everything, but he realized that material wealth can give you only fleeting happiness. The happiness comes and goes, comes and goes. But then there was a big thunderstorm, and he was lost in the wandering things. So he sought refuge in an old temple. He sat there in the old temple. And days were going up. Then he found a monk, who also was in the temple. His name was Kashi. So Kashi, Keval found, was a very unwavering calmness amidst the chaos going on around the whole place. Thunderstorm and this thing, everything is getting shattered. But this fellow, Kashi, was in wonderful calmness and peace, unwavering calmness. So this intrigued Chakra. Chakra asked, "Hey, Kashi, how is that your meeting? Everybody is happening and this getting shattered." Then Kashi said, "Shall I tell you? Can I tell you my secret?" No. Sure, sure, Chakra. Says, yes, I want to learn from you. I want to learn from you. Please tell me, what do you do? He says, every day I practice. Huh? What practice do you do? I practice contentment in the present moment. You know. Huh? What is contentment in the present moment? I do not think of the future. I don't think of the past. I stay in the present. And I'm very, very happy. I'm completely contented. Trupta sthiti, ananda sthiti, remaining these things. And Chakra got very intrigued, got inspired, and during his stay in the temple for a few days, Chakra, he said, I adopted this Kashi teaching, sitting with him to stay at the present moment. And the revelation take place. The revelation took place in my life that realized that the true happiness was not in the external objects. It was all within. In embracing life's highs and lows with a balanced heart. Excitement and depressions, I was able to overcome. I was getting into that dimension. A Chakra concluded his tale to Keval. So a serene smile graced his face. Chakra was full of joy, and the smile he had a great grace in it. A beautiful smile, a grace. Then Chakra, what did he do? A surprise came. He took out a small, intricately carved wooden box, you know, and gave it to Keval. And Keval was wondering, what is he giving? He just opens that small wooden box. Inside the wooden box, there is a simple note. Happiness lies not in what you have, but in how you perceive what you have. Wonderful thing. So Keval was very, very, very happy. He got deeply moved and thanked Chakra for revealing the secret of life. He understood the unexpected lesson. In that moment, he realized that true happiness stems from embracing life with equanimity, by tuning ourselves into that inner silence. And then on, he started telling the stories to bring about this dimension. He started finding joy in the stories he shared and the connections he made rather than in any material possession. Earlier, his story said that you have to have good life. What is good life? Enrichment, richness, good house, good wife, good children, and wealth, material possession. This was the implication of Moses' stories, material possessions. But now he started taking the stories to a new height. And he continued to spin tales, to bring about newer and newer tales, but now with a newfound understanding. What is the newfound understanding? Live in the present. Stay in that silence. All the time attuned to that silence. And maintain equanimity. Equanimity. Whether success or failure, you should be able to maintain equanimity. And with a reminder that happiness and equanimity are not distinct goals. They are very much within us. Treasures, they are found in the journey of life itself. So we must all practice that. Staying in the moment. Not thinking of the future, not thinking of the past. Stay in the present. In that present is a state of equanimity. Equanimity, samatva. And that samatva is the one that brings the real happiness. That equanimity and happiness are not two distinct things. Prasadam adhigacchati, he had said, you will be in the state of wonderful bliss. And that bliss is an inner state of silence, inner state of equanimity. Therefore, we have to bring that equanimity into our lives. So, our entire life is full of changes. And these changes are the result of imbalances. At all the levels, these imbalances exist. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya Kaushal. Everywhere it occurs. And therefore, what is to be done? At all the levels, you must have that wonderful state of equanimity. And what are those dimensions of equanimity? Look at the Annamaya Kosha. At the brain level, the left-right imbalance. The two lobes, the left lobe and the right lobe, you have to bring the balance. Left brain, predominantly in analytical, intellectual dimensions, logic, everything. Right brain, creativity, innovation, art, music. Both these things should be balanced. The left and the right brain balance has to be done. Then coming down to the next level, sympathetic parasympathetic imbalance. That sympathetic parasympathetic imbalance has to be brought down. You have to bring the balance. Autonomic imbalance has to be corrected. Autonomic balance should be brought. Then at the further down level, you have got imbalances in every organ and system in the body. And it is these imbalances which cause the different vyadhis. What is vyadhi? Disease. What is it? Dis-ease. The ease is gone. The wellness is gone. And you're in a state of imbalance. So imbalance, when it crystallizes, when it grossifies, it may be the mental challenges, the psychiatric problem at the mind level itself. Or when it comes down to the physical body, it becomes the adhi, becoming the vyadhi. So the imbalance has to be corrected at the Annamaya Kosha. Then coming to the Pranamaya Kosha, the Ida and the Pingala. the left and the right dimension. The prana flowing through the ida more and more in the pingala. It goes on changing, changing, changing. This shows up as imbalance in the right and the left nostril breathing. They have to be brought into a balance. When the balance is occurring, then you have equal flow through the left and the right nostril. So with the Narishwati pranayama. No? And doing that thing, you'll be able to bring the balance at it on pingala. No? So the prana flowing through the ida, prana flowing through the pingala goes on continuously changing, changing, changing. And when the two things are balanced, and when the prana flows, gets into a deeper dimension, it gets into the Kundalini Shakti. That is subtle prana that we are aware of. Then all the Pancha pranas will come to a balance. Prana, apana, samana, udana, jnana. All these dimensions start coming up. And the chakras will come to a balance. So balance in the pranamaya kosha. Then we have the manomaya kosha. We know at the emotional level, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya are all powered up thoughts. The greater the speed of the mind, uncontrolled speed of the mind, causes these very powerful emotions. And therefore, what should be done? You have to calm down. We have seen. We saw that is the calming down of the mind, that is slowing down of the thoughts. That is the key essence of sublimation. So when you are in action, probably you speed up. You're able to be fast. You should be able to perform. Therefore, you learn how to speed up the thought, faster mind, quicker mind, brilliant mind, faster, 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 faster. But then it should be balanced properly with silence, calming down of the mind, silencing the mind, tranquilizing the mind, going deeper and deeper. That is the balance that we have to bring. So that balance will bring the mastery over the emotions that we saw. And that is the root cause for bringing imbalance at the pranamaya kosha and then annamaya kosha, causing the diseases. You have to work on that. What is the imbalance at the vijnanamaya kosha? Intellectual sharpness, logical things, intellect growing very, very high, and the intellect with its sharpness, has to decipher what is happiness, what is unhappiness. As the story brought forth, the chakra, as we understood that we start getting enjoyment in our creativity, in our thinking, in our logical structure, the whole of science based on the intellectual, logical thing. That's fine. That is one aspect, that dimension. Like the spirit of thoughts in the monomaya kosha. It has to be balanced by the happiness involved in that, the calmness, silence dimension. So again, at the intellectual level, the logical excellence followed by the excellence of silence and the happiness should be brought. Ananta Samapatti has to be practiced at the deeper level. Silence may be gross at the Manomaya Kosha level. In Vijnanamaya Kosha, it becomes deeper, it's more expanded. What about Anandamaya Kosha? It's a state of happiness, So it's a state of Abhava Pratyaya in the deep sleep. From there, you have to go to the higher dimension of bliss. Happiness with bliss. From the Abhava Pratyaya, it should become the Samadhi bliss, the bliss of Samadhi. Because in the deep sleep, when you have the Abhava Pratyaya, Sushupti stage, Anandamaya Kosha's grosser manifestation, So you have the slavery in that sense. So the slavery is overcome when you go into the deeper level of the Samadhi. Samadhi is higher bliss. As you go deeper and deeper, then our Sanchita karmas will get cleansed and we have higher and higher bliss. This all comes up. And that is the wonderful message that we have. So balance at all the levels. and that is the one that has to work on that. So samatvam yoga uchyate is the key essence. What is the result of that? You go to the higher levels. We are going to take up this in the next class. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasya prasanna chetaso hyashu buddhi paryavathishthate. With that, we close today's session with our usual Shanti mantra. Sarve bhavantu sukhinos, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all very much. With that, if there are any questions, you can put them in the chat box, and that questions, if you have, we can try to address them. Sitara Das is telling, sorry, my father-in-law passed away, so I have to go. Yes. Please offer our condolences to all the family members, and we wish you equanimity and hope that your father-in-law is going to go to the higher heights of the heavenly abode. Thank you. Any other questions or any other things, interactions?
When is the next session, Guruji? Next session, your lecture, next lecture.
Guruji, I try to stay in present moment. Daily challenge pulls me from present moment. How to stay on with the moment? Yes, it's very easily said than done. To stay in present is not easy. So the trick is to see that the inner layer of the mind had to be first recognized. Outer layer of the mind will continue doing the actions. Inside, inner layer of the mind should be always kept in silence, in calmness, in peace. Then outside actions can go on. So, as you rightly say, while performing action, there is a dilemma. And challenging and demanding, everything happens. And we encounter success and failure, everything. So when you have an inner calmness and peace, as the story brought forth, then you're able to maintain equanimity. You don't get excited about the success. You share the success with others. So if in an organization or in a business firm, there's a big growth that comes up, and there's excitement everywhere, then you don't take that as your achievement, but say that it is the achievement of everybody. You share that thing, maintain equanimity, you don't get excited. Similarly, when the collapse occurs, you take up the responsibility and maintain the calmness. This is what has to be done. So this can happen when you have that calmness, equanimity inside, when you tune yourself to that inner silence, inner calmness. So that is the trick that is given in the Karma Yoga. That you have to maintain that inner calm, inner silence, inner tranquility, inner blissful awareness, and do action. Yogastaha kuru karmani, sangam tyaktva dhananjaya is said. So it is sangam, it is the attachment that takes out from our thing. Therefore, to make it very practical, Krishna Bhagavan has given that wonderful secret. In all actions, maintain that inner calm. That's the gnanasthiti. That's what happens to the Sthita Prajna. The Sthita Prajna, though he's able to maintain silence, he can stay in that silence without doing any action for any length of time. And he's able to stay in that silence for any length of time. Will he not do any action? Does he not have the capacity to do the action? Yes, he has all the capacity to do the action. Much better than anybody else. His efficiency is excellent. No? But how does he do that? Inner layer of the mind, all the time in silence. Hanuman at the Ramabhava all the time inside and doing all the action. Every action is done is in tune with the ultimate reality. And that's what one has to do. That's the secret that has been unraveled in our entire dimension. Thank you, thank you. Very good question. Deepanand, how do I keep up my balance and not get triggered while the person in front of me is always challenging me with senseless actions? Yes. Outside world doesn't behave the way that we want. No. It has its own freedom, just like we all have our own freedom. No, everything in the outside have their own freedom. No. That is the external events or external human beings, they have their own freedom. They can challenge you, they can upset you, they can scold you, or they can appreciate you. When appreciation comes from outside, we are all very, very happy. When somebody comes to show our limitations or scold us or blame us or challenge us, then normally we get upset. No? This normally what happens. This is a normal way. That is, when the dukkha comes, then you get depressed. When sukha comes, you get excited. This is normal. So what is to be done? You have to maintain equanimity. Somebody praises, then you say that it is not my own success, it is the success of large number of my friends and colleagues and workers who have all worked, and also your own good thoughts at Harat. Share that and maintain equanimity. When somebody is challenging, when they are blaming on other things, then you maintain the equanimity. Start looking whether there's something wrong in me, whether I can take a lesson from them, and whether that lesson can help me to grow. You thank him if you find there is something. Thank you very much for your suggestions and your criticism. I'm very, very, very happy. And I'm going to do that. On the other hand, if the challenges are not up to the mark, in the sense there was unnecessary and it is not up to the mark, then you maintain equanimity and wish him best. So this all learn in our process of research. When we send the research papers, there are reviewers who give very critical comments. Some of the critical comments, are really denied. But many of the comments that they give, are just very superfluous. And they're only trying to cut down dimensions. And therefore we have to suitably answer them. And therefore, we have to learn that art of responding suitably to the situations. If it is a genuine thing, yes, we have to improvise our thing. If it is superfluous, you give a superficial answer and work on these things. So normally, if you don't have that discrimination, if you don't have that calmness of the mind, if you don't have the equanimity, we get swayed. We get swayed by the emotions. You're right. So, as I said, we get swayed by emotions. And that's what happens normally. So we have to raise above our normal situation to become great human beings, superhuman beings, divine human beings. That is yoga. Therefore, we have to learn that art of working with. Sukheshu anudvigna manoha, Sukheshu vigata spruha. This is the one that we have to operate on. And that for that inside is that go into that silence, all the time. That's the things. Thank you. Good question. Thank you, Anjali, for your nice, questions. You are nice for this thing. Deepa, thank you. These are very practical questions which we have to bring it into our practice. I hope the session about this shloka has been good, and we must all repeat that shloka again and again and contemplate on this thing, do the nididhyasana and contemplation and see how best we can bring it into our practice. Thank you, Shiva. Very good. Okay, with that, then we'll close today's session and we meet again next Saturday at 7 p.m. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Thank you all.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Thank you, Gauri. You also could come.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
Namaste. Thank you, Ma. Good. Nice.
Thank you, Guruji. Namaste,
Thank
Guruji.
you. Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, Guruji.